ethnicity, you understand in the African American community, that is a very familiar, popular slang. It is a term that we use to affectionately say that I'm not going to allow nothing to mess me up. Because at the end of the day, it's all good. I don't care how much I had to go through on my job, but when they give me that check, it's all good. I don't care how much hell I had to go through in the line at Popeyes. But when I get that 3-wing special with some Cajun rice or red beans and rice, with a good old dirty buttered biscuit, with a strawberry soda, it's all good. I may have had to wait in the line at Kroger's a long time because they don't have enough sense to open up lines when it's busy. But when I get home and eat, it's all good. I might even have to go to the doctor and hear a bad report. But when they come up with the final report and say nothing is there that they thought was there, somebody holler at me and say, it's all good. Because at the end of the day, as long as God is still in control, as long as God has not resigned from being the captain of my soul, as long as the devil don't have deeds on the earth, it's all good. I might have to go through something from A to Z, but when I get to Z, it's all good. Y'all don't hear me today. Look at 3 people and say, I said it's all good. No money in my pocket, but it's all good. Friends have walked off and left me, but it's all good. Family acting funny with me, but it's all good. Somebody told me they was going to take my spouse, but it's all good. The devil thought he was going to take my mind, but it's all good. I thought I was losing my mind, but it's all good. I thought I couldn't take another thing, but I'm still here. It's all good. Why don't you just rear back and say, I said it's all good. So in our text today, we are in the book of Psalms. And here in the book of Psalms, we understand that the Psalms, called in the Hebrew, is Tehillim, or praises. They were songs to be accompanied with string instruments. We know that because we found out that David not only was a tender of the sheep, but his anointing was playing the harp. Because we understand that when Saul had an evil and vexed spirit, they would call the musician David and not the King David and say, come on, boy, and play your harp and get our king together. And as he would minister on his harp, we find out that the spirit of his leader was changed. So let me just throw a little pig right there and put a little pin right there and say, if you're really serving a leader, you ought to be able to change their spirit. And if you can't change their spirit, you're really not serving. So we understand that the Psalms was originally divided into 5 books. The first book, which is called the Genesis book, which speaks of beginnings, is Psalm 1 through 41. The second book, which is called the Exodus book, Psalm 42 through 72, because it speaks of God's redeeming power. The third book, which is called the Leviticus book, which is found in Psalm 73 through 89, is called the Leviticus book because it speaks of God's holiness. Our God is holy. The fourth book is called the Numbers book, Numbers 90 through 106, Psalm 9 through 106, because it speaks about counting. It even tells us that God even knows the number of hairs on my head. Now that's some counting, y'all. Because even though it may not look like I have much, I have a whole lot of follicles that you can't see. And God can even count the follicles that you can't see. I'm trying to tell you, God can count what you're not even able to see. And so when it looks like you have nothing, because God is the one who's counting, he can add nothing and himself and still come up with something. So even when you're down and out and nowhere to turn, if you turn to God, you still have more than enough. Even when your heart is heavy and you can't find peace nowhere, if you add Jesus to the equation, you have the peacemaker. And so therefore, I like the way God counts. He subtracts to add and divides to multiply. But when the story is over, my God will give me more than what I have. Touch your neighbor and say, I said it's all good. And in the last book of Psalm, which is the book of Deuteronomy, Psalm 107 through 150, we find here the commandments of God. We find here that we're not here because we desire to praise, but Psalm 150, which is a doxology, we are commanded to praise. And